Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to look at the community reaction to Overwatch 2. Is this what the community wanted? What do you guys think about this? This is going to be a big video. We're going to go into detail on everything. There's tons of questions we're going to go over. I've got myself a drink. I would definitely get yourself a drink for this. It's going to be a hell of a video because we're just going to go through this and see what all you guys are saying and just work everything out. Okay, let's get stuck into this. So I asked the question and I said, is Overwatch 2 better than Overwatch 1? Please vote and comment below explaining your thoughts. I'm especially interested to see what people who've played the beta think about the changes. This is for a video, so please be descriptive in the comments. And yes, this is that video. Amazing. Okay, so the vote results. We've got 26,000 votes, which is a good number of votes. Yes, I like it. It's better. I like the changes, 61%. I don't like it, 9%. It's the same game, 30%. Okay, so what we're going to do is move through these comments. Now, what I've done is I've sorted them by top first, which basically means the ones with the most sort of like interaction on them, the ones with the most. It won't necessarily be the ones with the most likes at the top. It'll be the ones that I've got the most interaction and stuff. But these will generally be the best comments. But we're going to go through loads of them, and we're going to discuss this because I think this is a great window into the reception of this. Because sometimes it can be easy to just sit back and be like, I believe what, I don't know, Stylosa says or some other content creator or whatever. But I think it's really cool to see the actual responses from you guys that also play the game because it gives us a better picture. And yeah, we can just go from there. All right, let's do this. So let's take a drink. It's going to be a hell of it. And by the way, this is my mini egg cup. Mini eggs are the best Easter chocolate, I'll have you know. Even though it ain't Easter anymore. I wish they sold them all year round. Anyway, so this comment here, it says, I played the beta and it feels great as a tank player. I just don't explode and I actually feel like I have impact on the game. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Tank feels awesome in the beta. So does DPS. Support feels great in different ways. It's had a massive playstyle change. But yeah, tanks do feel like you literally can just go in and it feels really, really good. So what are the responses to this? If you get some poopy healers, then you definitely explode like the good old days. True. The crazy thing is that once a tank is killed, the whole team goes down. Really speeds up the game. That's an interesting take. You see, because generally, I think it's slightly better to just kill everybody else apart from the tank. Unless the tank is disgustingly out of position. If you're playing DPS, you probably want to try and kill their supports because you can probably do it fairly easily or a lot easier than you could. In Overwatch 1 rather than prioritizing tanks because they are very tanky. Right, it's so good, can really make an impact as Ryan. Yeah, I mean, you can just go in, you can play aggressive. I don't play tank, but I play with a good tank and he makes a difference even with no good healers. Really good, maybe Orisa needs tuning. Yeah, I think Orisa will get nerfed. I honestly believe Orisa will get nerfed. She is very strong at the moment and yeah. Also, Soldier will probably get nerfed. They'll probably reduce his damage. If I had to say, like, Soldier nerf-wise, I'd probably knock his damage down. Maybe 1 point per shot, maybe. I think he's 20 at the moment. Maybe take him down to 19. But you know what? I reckon it'd be cool for Soldier. Get rid of his tac visor and turn it into, like, overclock, like Sojourn. So just make his weapon, like, more powerful for maybe a short time or something. That might be really cool because tac visor is really easy to get value on. And I don't know, maybe that needs changing. Anyway. I'm still on the fence about Orisa. On one hand, she feels super oppressive. On the other, that could be because we're not used to her new kit yet. Yeah, I still think she's OP, though. Okay, tanks have the greatest impact on the game in Overwatch 1. Yeah. Are you kidding? The only what have I done here? The only meta where tanks had impact was goats and maybe dives in response to that person. No, tanks have always been strong in Overwatch. So in Overwatch 1, tanks did a lot of damage relative to like their position, which was supposed to be absorbing damage. They did tons of damage. So there's actually a lot more damage flying around in Overwatch 1 than there is in Overwatch 2. But because there's one less tank, it now means that damage isn't being poured into tanks. It's being poured into squishy targets like DPS and support. So the game is a lot faster because of it. Okay, cool. Let's go down to the next comment. So this says, I enjoy the hero updates and believe it feels fresh and new, but the support being in constant struggle to live and still feeling the same feels bland. You would think that in nearly 2 years they could have added something to support. Maybe a cool rework like Zen floating, but I don't know. After all this, it's just the beta. Okay. Yeah, this is something which I think, you know, and I agree with this completely. When you look at the hero classes that have been changed, tanks and DPS have got major reworks to them, especially the tanks. This is fun because it's a big rework. You want to get in there and you want to test this. Now, Supports don't really have any major changes, so they're just the same old supports that we've played for a long time. Obviously, they're in a completely different world now because it's 5v5, and their priority is changing from more of like just pure heal bot output, sort of standing in the open, relying on other people to protect you in a lot of ways, to, oh my god, now I've got to try and survive, and I've got to try and heal, and I've got to do about 300 different things all at once. It's a different kind of game for supports. So even though DPS and tank have had the biggest reworks, in a way, support has actually had the biggest rework to its playstyle by those other roles being changed. But it feels bland, right? Because there's no like super new support. There's no super new support abilities. There's no ridiculous reworks to the heroes. And maybe there doesn't have to be, right? But yeah, if you come back to the game after a few years, you look at it and go, well, it just, what's this? The support's still the same. So I totally get that. So let's see what the comments are to this, because I bet they'd be pretty interesting. So far, the game feels great and refreshing for DPS mainly. I like the visuals and the new sound cues, but I hope tanks and supports weren't dealt the short end of the stick by design. Agreed. They seriously need a rework to play around with the supports. Yep, supports are a bit weak. I think what's really interesting is, obviously, these comments are from 2 days ago, but supports, they are weak, but I think they're weak if you play them as if you would in Overwatch 1, which is just, you know, almost just in the... I don't want to say all supports just stood in the middle of the fight, just pumping out healing and relied on other people to keep them alive, because that's not true. But if you do that in this game, you will get killed, because your tank will be fighting their team. It will not be protecting you. Whereas in Overwatch 1, you'd have a load of barriers around you, potentially. You'd have maybe a diva peeling for you or something. There was the other tank that there was more protection, where there isn't that now. So you really have to like protect yourself. And this does give opportunity to outplay as well. Whereas maybe supports didn't have the most sort of solo play impact on Overwatch 1, because, yeah, they were enabling their team, sure, but the support, even if it was a great support, you know, it still relies on its team doing stuff. Whereas now, if I'm playing Anna and I'm landing fat anti-nade after anti-nade, I'm getting huge results there, and our team are probably going to win fight after fight because of that. Or if I'm able to sleep the flanker as it's coming for me and call for help and then we kill it, that's massive. Or if I'm just able to duel flankers outright on my own, because I land a good sleep, maybe I land a good grenade on them, that's a huge benefit to your team. Anyway, let's move on. That's a good problem to have. If they give reworks to Reinhardt and Winston and focusing on buffing healers, the game would be in a really good state. Supports are not struggling. Are you high? This person's literally coming from the future. Sounds like there are plans to change this already. I don't know about that. I've not really heard that. Okay, let's move on. Personally, don't like how exposed supports have become due to the changes. Initial opinion is they need some reworking, just like every other area has had reworks. Maybe after a bit more adjusting, my opinion, but now I don't like it. Yeah. So this is kind of similar to the other comment. What interests me here is there's a lot of people talking about support, because I do think support has had the biggest playstyle change, and it's a massive shock. Because if you know, I've spoke to friends and they've said, hey, we prefer Overwatch 1 than Overwatch 2, just because there's more strategy in Overwatch 1, because we're setting up as teams and we're going for engagements. We're not just in this massive brawl where suddenly it's more individual player skill. In a lot of ways, Overwatch 2, I hate to use this comparison, but it is more like Call of Duty. It is more like maybe Valorant in some aspects, because now you can make those plays. And if you do make those plays, yeah, you're going to go through the ranks. You're going to get better at the game. You're going to win more matches. And maybe that's how it should be, right? Because then you've got more onus on your individual play, rather than just sort of hoping you get a good team comp and hoping you get good players. Time will tell. I think it does feel great. I'm not going to lie. It does feel great when you pop off, and you pop off more times than you don't. Or I guess you've got more chances to pop off in Overwatch 2. But it's just a complete play style change. And that's why I think it feels really jarring. And it felt jarring to me, because I was like, what the hell? I'm just getting destroyed. I'm getting flanked all the time. What's going on? So, yeah. Just sitting back and being a heal bot is not the best way to play the game anymore. Hey, this comment gets it, I think. Playing up and pressuring the enemy team with your team is better now, as it makes it easier for your team to peel for you, and you're right up there with them. You never want to be in a 1v1 as a support, so taking steps to reduce that possibility will make you live longer. It'll just take some time adjusting to the new meta before people start to understand. I think we've got someone from the future. Supports have to learn to defend themselves now, yeah. They can't rely on a second tank to peel for them anymore. It gives you more of a chance to pop off. Every single support can fight back or has escape ability, so there shouldn't be any complaining. Now, yeah, I mean, some supports are better at looking after themselves than others. But like, I think Brig, like I've said this in a few videos recently, I think Brig is a real strong sleeper hero at the moment. If Brig plays as a straight up bodyguard for the other support, provided the other support has high healing output, so it's an Ana, a Baptiste, maybe even a Moira. Mercy, yeah, she can work with Mercy as well. But let's like Ana Brig, I think is really strong because you've got that anti-nade coupled with very defensive like Ana. If you've got the Brig protecting her, she's very, very strong. But that's a complete playstyle change because Brig normally, you'd be going forward, you'd be, with the tank sort of thing. Not now. No. You need to change your playstyle. And when you start doing that, you get a ton of reward for doing it. So yeah. I agree healers in general need more survivability. However, all roles need to learn to play in the new environment of the game. Tanks are no longer just sit and wait. They are now tasked with going in and making damage. DPS need to be a little more aggressive. I think healers need a better self-heal or escape methods. Right now, I think the best healers with the best chance of survival are Baptiste, Ana, Moira, Brig, and Lucio. They all have some sort of way of getting out of trouble relatively fast. I think you can add Mercy to that as well, which is the point. They shouldn't be able to win all 1v1 versus DPS and tanks, but should be able to GTFO and survive. Yeah, I mean, again, this goes back to the whole thing with like, Zen is really weak right now because he doesn't really have any way of protecting himself unless he does. If Zen lands a headshots and kills whoever the hell is flanking him or pressuring him, that's the best counter, right? You've literally killed them. But when you look at the other supports, it's the hardest counter to pull off because you need to land the shots. If you don't, you die. The other supports have all got some way of dealing with that, whether it's a movement ability, whether it's a self-heal ability, whether it's a crowd control ability. Zen is just like, I've got to do damage. It's almost like Zen shouldn't even be a support anymore. But, okay, Blizz, don't move more heroes out of support. We need more supports. What the hell? Oh, yeah, and I think the rest of these comments are just replies. So I guess we'll dodge over the replies to the replies, but I don't mind reading the reply to the reply. Okay, let's move down. It's better... But as good as it is, it really does feel like a big update or expansion pack. This is a great comment. Personally, I really don't think a sequel was necessary. They could have continued using the experimental card to implement big changes as they went along so that we could get consistent game-changing updates while having an idea of where the developers were taking the game. Because I really... Right, I'm just going to... Right, look at this. The messaging for Overwatch 2 is trash. It's so bad. This, to me, yes, it's Overwatch 2 in name, but Overwatch 2 in my head is the PvE stuff, not the PvP. If anything, what we're playing as the Overwatch 2 beta right now is actually a relaunch of Overwatch 1. And all they've done is go to 5v5, give us new maps, give us hero reworks, and change some balance, and give us Sojourn. That could have all been added into Overwatch 1, right? It's not. They're now calling it Overwatch 2. A lot of people get confused. When they look at this, they go, hang on a minute. This isn't Overwatch 2. It just looks like Overwatch 1 with slightly better graphics, new maps, hero reworks, and like I've just gone over. I think the issue is, it's almost like, it is that idea of managing expectations. And it's like you have the expectation of, if you're a casual and maybe you came to Twitch and you were looking at the category when all the drops are dropping, millions of viewers on Overwatch. It's cool. It means that a lot of people are interested in Overwatch. But they look at it and they're like, okay, Overwatch 2, it kind of just looks like Overwatch. Like, what's the difference? In a lot of ways, what they're trying to sell us at the moment as Overwatch 2 really is a relaunch of Overwatch. And in essence, it's almost like, imagine if Overwatch was a free-to-play game and it was getting updates for the last 3 years, or let's say last 2 years. Let's be generous and say the last 2 years. If you went away 2 years ago and then you came back today and you'd go, oh, okay, cool. There's now a push mode. There's Sojourn. There's a bunch of reworks. Oh, it's gone 5v5. And you'd be cool with that. You'd be like, okay, this does feel like updates to a live service game. But calling this Overwatch 2 is very weird because it's like, what happens when actual real Overwatch 2 comes out, the PvE stuff? Do they then go back and go, oh yeah, it's Overwatch 2? It's very weird. Like, there's a massive messaging problem here from Blizzard, and I don't know whether they can sort it out now because they've already committed to it. I mean, even on Twitch, this was another bit of a rant I can go on. There's two categories. There's Overwatch and Overwatch 2. Well, is this Overwatch or Overwatch 2? Blizzard told us, no, you've got to stream in Overwatch. So I'm like, yeah, but you open the game and it says Overwatch 2? What the hell, Blizzard? It's like, yeah, well, drops are only available in the Overwatch category. Twitch wouldn't disable the other category, blah, 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 blah. It's all a mess. The messaging is all over the place. And then even a few days later, you would see there'd be people streaming in Overwatch 2, and there'd be people streaming in Overwatch. What is this? Is this Overwatch? Is this Overwatch 2? If I'm confused and I've made 4,000 videos on the game, I think casuals, and none of you guys watching this video are casuals. I'll straight up say that. A casual is someone who literally consumes no content around the game, but just plays it every now and again. They are confused. Oh my God, Blizzard. It is something for, I can literally rant about that for ages. It is so, the messaging, it's like the problem with Overwatch 2. Whew. Okay, cool. Let's move on. I need a drink after that. Okay, hang on. I've played a couple of hours, and it's hard to form an opinion on 5v5 because nobody seems to know what they're doing, and there's very little team coordination. Yeah, that's true. I do really like all the individual changes, and Sojourn's really fun. Also, tank and DPS queues are really long, but I'm hoping for support changes or a new support hero will fix that. Yeah, I think as well, in the beta, because there are changes to tanks and DPS, and they are more fun to play, more people play those, right? And support now, there's limited choice with supports compared to all the other, the other two roles. And so, you kind of want to play the new stuff, right? You don't want to play stuff which feels the same. And that's kind of what support is. But support's big change is the playstyle change. And I think there's just a lot of stuff happening where people go in the Overwatch 1 mindset, and this happened to me, and then you're like, what the hell? I'm just getting destroyed all the time. This is ridiculous. And I think that's just going to take time. And it's just not as impactful, is it, as a change? And, in this day and age, you have to make a big impact to bring people back and get them interested again. I constantly see that... hang on, we'll look at the few replies to this. So, the DPS and tank queues being 10 mins is probably just due to the fact that they got all the changes in the beta, yeah. When new support gets added or existing support gets rework, they'll probably balance out. Yeah, I agree. I don't quite know how to play the new maps yet, but as a DPS, but as a tank, I feel just unstoppable. It's great. The old maps as DPS feel much better as 5v5. Even then, they are the same. And again, as a tank on those maps, I feel unstoppable. Yeah, I mean, the message there is if a player feels powerful, they play the game, which is fine. I mean, that just goes without saying. So what you're saying is it's Overwatch, okay? Now, a few minor reworks and a new support will do nothing for supports. Supports are not fun to play. Playing Brain Dead Moira is as dull as it gets for support. Tanks and DPS are fun to play because you get lots of fun things and tricks. Supports are now just shittier DPS. Playing support is now just stressful and hard work for no reward. Loving the game as a tank, it's better than it was as a DPS. I think the rewards are different, right? Your support, so... Back in Overwatch 1, we always used to go on about tanks making space and how this was something you couldn't really show in a scoreboard. You couldn't really show as stats or anything like that. But you could tell. If you had a good tank, okay, tank diff was coming into effect. You can know a good main tank or a good off tank or just good tanks in general. It was clear. But it was never really quantifiable, like in a stat. I think supports are kind of like that now because if your support, it might not be about pure healing output. If you're playing Ana, and this is the example I'm probably going to use a lot in this video because I've literally played the most out of any hero is Ana so far in the beta, then followed by Soldier. But if I just go for pure healing and all I do is use my nades for healing, everything else for healing, I'm just pumping healing into the team, might not be as good as actually going for anti-nades that win fight after fight after fight. So I might have less healing compared to, say, the enemy Ana, who might just be prioritizing healing. But actually, I've outplayed that Ana. Now, not in the main statistics that matter, right? Not in the healing output. You might look at the end of match healing and go, well, that Ana's got 9k healing. You've only got 7-star. What the hell were you doing in that game? Well, actually, my anti-nades were winning a lot of fights, so we didn't need that much healing, and the enemy was getting pressured more, so they needed more healing. That's the weird thing with support. So it is still possible to pop off, but it's harder to show that in the game, and I think that becomes an issue because if it's not clear and present and obvious, it can affect players' perception of what the supports are actually doing. But I still think, yeah, there is a lot of way to play. In terms of supports as DPS, yeah, only really Zen's DPS as support. Moira can be to some extent, but the rest of them, you need to still heal. You can't just do damage. You're still there looking to keep your team alive, but it's about enabling their play in I guess, different ways. Queues are going to remain... Oh, this is the same commenter coming back again. Going to remain this way and get worse. All the support mains I know have gone to tank, Blizzard have had 2 years to get it right, and they haven't. They heard us after the alpha, then decided it was all good. Well, the chickens have come home to roost. Who would have thought that making a role not fun to play would have caused an issue? I mean, if it's not the same thing that happened with tanks in Overwatch 1, Blizzard are going to do big support changes. So if not, get used to queues until they make a radical change. Now, but like, this is a totally fair comment as well. I mean, so you can feel really isolated as support. You can feel like if you lose a lot of duels, which, to be honest, you should be losing the duels. If DPS is coming for you and you've got Genji on top of you, which sounds good, but he's on top of you and he's killing you, right? You're like, oh my God, I miss my sleeps, I miss whatever, and he kills me. Oh, great. Then he does it again. Oh, this feels shit. And then he does it again. And then you've got Tracer going after you again. It's like, oh my God. And it can feel shit, right? You're dying over and over again. In that case, maybe your other support should be helping you more because they're not. Maybe you need to change your hero. There's a lot of things that go on, but it never feels great when the game is being dictated to you. What feels great is if you can pick a hero and then play that hero and have fun. Supports, they are the sort of butt end of the joke because the DPS want you dead. And you know what? The tanks also want you dead as well. And your tank don't care about you anymore because that's trying to kill their team. And then your DPS is trying to kill their team. So you've just left with like supports like, oh God, I'll try and help my team, but I'm going to have to try and keep myself alive. Now, I'm starting to really enjoy that playstyle. Maybe you guys will in time, but we'll have to wait and see. But it is, I totally 100% get that people feel like it can be bad playing support because you can just get wrecked and it can feel like, well, I'm playing the game, but I'm just here as almost like a practice target dummy for DPS to kill. Okay. I constantly see that others say the game hasn't changed, but I can really tell the difference. The graphics look so nice, and the ping system is helpful. Plus, the reworks and general edits to characters make the game more entertaining to play. Yeah, it does. But you know what? I think this comment alludes to something a bit wider in the community, in that Overwatch. This actually goes back to what I was saying about this feeling like a free-to-play game that's had updates over the last 2 years. And if you went away 2 years ago, then came back, you'd just be like, oh, great, it's continued being updated. This is designed for current hardcore players of Overwatch, really, this Overwatch 2 beta. If you are the player that has left years ago and then you come back, it does look the same. The game plays radically different. It really does play radically different. But if you're a die-hard Overwatch player and you've maybe been playing competitive for every single season, or or you just play all the time, when you move into Overwatch 2, you start noticing, oh hey, they fixed the problem with double barriers being so strong and all these other little issues. Oh, they've given us a ping system. This is actually really cool. Oh, they've made the game more easier to read what's going on because there's less players. Oh, I feel like I'm having more impact now because I can pop off and play. That's great to an existing player, but to players that dip in and dip out, they don't see that because they just see the surface level. And I think that goes back to the whole messaging, the packaging of what Overwatch 2 is, and we've got all these problems because of that. I enjoy the feel of the beta more because I feel like you don't have to rely as much on other players to be effective with some heroes, and it's faster paced, which I enjoy. Fair comment. I'm a healer main and I feel torn. I like the new changes to Brig and the quality of life changes to Zen and Mercy, etc. I feel much less vulnerable now than I did in Overwatch 1 as a healer. However, there are no new abilities or hero reworks. No reworks, nothing. I like Sojourn, but I feel like we didn't really need a new DPS, especially after Echo was the last hero of Overwatch 1. It feels like I'm playing the same game, except I have a phantom third healer keeping me up, and it's made me pivot towards tank as my main because the characteristics are now much more fun, especially Doom and Orisa. I saw ideas from people about having a mini trance for Zen where he would be immortal for a few seconds to help with peel, and I feel like it's these kinds of small impactful changes that I'd like to see. It doesn't even need to be a full rework of the heroes. I hope that wasn't too long and made sense, but in conclusion, I like the little changes support has got, but there's nothing new and it's taking a toll. Fair enough. Let's see what the replies are to this one. Yeah, agree. I would also say it feels like characters like Zen, Brig, and Lucio and Mercy are being played more as they don't have such a hard time hitting the new faster DPS and also aren't disadvantaged by the reduction in ult charge by simply healing tanks. I feel like Ana, especially in Batiste to a certain extent, are being forcefully removed as they simply can't guarantee 100% accuracy in this new dual type combat. I don't know, that comment's a bit weird because I feel like Zen is the worst support. Like Zen is very vulnerable. Brig, yeah. Lucio, yeah. Mercy, Moira, Ana, I think they're all, well, obviously Lucio and Moira are the best supports in the game right now. And I'd put Brig up there with them as well. In fact, I think I did in my recent tier list. But yeah, that comment's like, I'm playing more tank now too. Healer just isn't as fun, especially in this new super hype movement of everything being new. Support is so sad now. Bear in mind that Sojourn is 1 out of 6 new heroes coming in Overwatch 2 at launch. This isn't confirmed, but like, I would hope that the next beta phase, because remember this beta phase that we're in now ends in a couple of weeks, that whenever the next one starts, there is a new hero in that, and it's a support. Because if it's not a support, Blizz, I'll not be very happy. So roll out Junker Queen support. Let's go. The next beta will likely have a new hero. There is plenty of room for more supports. Yeah, there really is. They really need to add more supports. See, it's not even about oh, look, there's more DPS players. So if we've got more variety in DPS heroes, that keeps the overall player base more happy. It's not even about that. It's just when you look at the game, you're like, there's tanks, there's loads of DPS, and there's hardly any support. Why? Like, what's going on there, Blizzard? Like, I don't understand why they couldn't just release them equally. You know, go, okay, a tank. I mean, imagine if when the game launched, Ana was the first hero, and then they were going tank, DPS, support, tank, DPS, support, tank, DPS. I don't know why they couldn't do that. I really don't. But they just seem to have made whatever they felt like making at the time, which, you know, fair enough. Anyway, I mean, Sojourn was teased for like 3 years now. Yeah, this is absolutely true. So it makes sense she would be released. I have a feeling that they will be showing us some new support soon. I hope they do. How can you say you feel much less vulnerable as a support now than previously, lol, when literally support is even more vulnerable now, which is fair. Okay. The overall reduction of crowd control, this is the first time crowd control has been mentioned, has benefited the game massively, in my opinion. The Orisa and Doom reworks are great, and the reduced barrier to play makes it more fun. It is no longer clicking on shields all the time, which is great. Okay, I like this because reduction in crowd control, this is good, and I think it's a massive net positive for the game. But it means a lot of playstyle changes for a lot of heroes, and mainly the supports. Because you can't, like, if there's less stuns, it means flanker DPS is more powerful. And what they like to do is kill supports. So it means supports become more vulnerable as a result of that. It also means things like it's harder to control tanks. It's harder to control enemy dive comps if they really do want to jump on you and kill you. You can't just hard CC them. You have to look at different ways of playing. You have to try and like make sure your positioning is right. Abuse maybe high ground. Maybe if you're the two supports, you've got to work together. Maybe even a DPS starts peeling for supports. These are all things that might start happening in the future. Maybe even tanks start playing exclusively defensively instead of playing offensively. A lot of things can happen, and the game is in such an early phase right now with this reduction of CC. It's hard to tell, but the very basic and initial things we can say is, well, Genji is very strong because there's no direct crowd control to stop him. Trace is very strong because there's no direct crowd control really to stop them. They can get in and they can do what they want to do. And this is better for the game overall because it means you get to actually play the game. Look at Mei. Mei doesn't freeze you anymore. I've seen people moaning about this. And did anyone out there ever actually feel great when you got froze by Mei? No. So Mei slowing you down by 50%, is that the same as being froze? No. But it's maybe kind of 70% as effective. And I think Mei is actually fairly strong, and I think people haven't really coined on to how strong she is at the moment. But yeah, there's all these like little micro game changes, which I think it'll become more apparent in the future how they start manifesting. But I think it's definitely better for the game that there's less crowd control. And again, this plays into the whole thing of outplaying or having the potential to outplay. If you've just got a button you can press which will stop another player doing a thing. Batiste Lamp is a good example of this, even though it isn't crowd control. That's very easy to pull off. Look at like Ana now. She has to land the sleep dart on Genji to shut him up, or maybe even kill him outright, which is going to be hard. The Batiste can throw down the immortality field and then ask for support, right? So it's a little bit easier to react to that. So yeah, there's this like world where some heroes have got it easier dealing with certain things because of no stuns and some don't. And it's like, But But I tell you what, you sleep that Genji and it feels awesome. And it always has felt awesome, right, as Ana? But now it feels even better. I've been playing... Oh, okay. For Ana player, let's go. I've been playing Ana in the beta and I'm loving it. I feel as if this... Oh, is this me from the past commenting? I feel like the skill ceiling has increased dramatically. Positioning much more important, and any missed skill shots spells game over now. When I'm landing crazy sleep darts and shutting down ultimates or landing a nade on the enemy team at just the right time, it feels amazing and impactful. Yeah, I agree. It sounds like then Ana is a complete throw pick, except for maybe 5% of players. Maybe it's hard to tell. Let's read this because it's a reply back to that. Maybe it's hard to tell with everyone learning the new maps and all the hero reworks. Lucio, Moira, and Mercy get a lot more forgiving than Ana and Zen. I found that if I have Doomfist, Orisa, or Ryan tank, then the game feels a lot easier. As someone who's played pretty consistently during the time with no updates, the Overwatch 2 beta genuinely feels like a breath of fresh air. There's definitely more work to be done before this can feel like a completed game, but it's a very good step in the right direction, and that is exactly what I've been saying throughout this video, where it does feel like, okay, finally, you guys have, you know the problems with the game, and you're fixing them, and it feels awesome, because we're diehard fans of Overwatch. But then the other side to that is, well, the person that played Overwatch years ago and comes back to it goes, what's changed here, you know? It's very hard for Blizzard to sell this. Unless, you know, they just came out and went, we're relaunching Overwatch and this is our plan for doing it. It would have been a lot better received by the community, honestly. Anyway, let's move on. I've played the beta a decent bit, and my thoughts can be summed up as 3 years, and this is what we got. Totally fair. DPS, very few changes. Oh, I never knew it did that. So if I highlight just that, then it highlights it all. That's cool. Support. Hang on, what the hell am I reading here? DPS, very few changes, and I've always felt the best since the entire feedback system is based around kills and damage, etc. True, I agree with that. Support, some are in a rough spot, and overall the role is a bit too exposed. Tanks, role removed. Bruisers, Orisa is fun if a bit overtuned. Everyone else, I feel, is fine outside of Ryan and possibly Roadhog. I think Hog's the worst tank, honestly. Hog mains have always been the quick pick with Hook, but with the power of every other character being moved in a similar direction, he feels homogenous with everyone else while having lesser survivability options with the lack of mobility overall. Ryan, I feel, is in dire straits. His kit feels like lesser versions to that of others due to having the shield now. Firestrike is weaker spear and rock, Pin is a worse movement option or a lesser rocket punch once charged. It even is easier to stay out of hammer range now, and yes, the free shatters are nice when you get them, but as people adapt to that, it loses more value. So personally, I like the changes on a per character basis, but as a whole, it feels lesser to me as a flex player. Each role had a distinct thing in Overwatch 1. I enjoyed Overwatch 1 for the team play aspect, the tank synergies, and how different each character was. Overwatch 2 just feels like a dive deathmatch with how much more weight each kill has on a fight, while making everything more generic for that mass appeal. I mean, yeah. The only thing I'd say to this is Reinhardt. I think Reinhardt is better than a lot of people thought originally. The example I always give here is King's Row final point. I played a game where it was Orisa versus Orisa for the whole match, and I was the tank. And we were defending, and as we got pushed back to the final point, I thought, what happens if I play Reinhardt here? Because, well, we'll have a barrier and they won't. And it was really effective, like super effective, because your DPS is obviously really strong. We had a soldier on DPS because, of course, we did. But your DPS is stronger. So if I could enable them and they just could free fire from behind my shield, that's super powerful. Because Orisa can't really protect the team that well. She's more of like a souped-up DPS. Obviously, when she does spear spin, yeah, okay, she's going to eat projectiles, and she's just very tanky herself and can pop fortify and stuff. But yeah, it's like almost like you should swap and change your tank at various points on maps, and obviously play against what the enemy team have got. But yeah, a free Earth Shatter as Reinhardt does feel good, but you get them less often. So yeah, but that was a good comment, like that one. I've put about 20 hours into the game so far since it is released, and here are my thoughts about how things feel. The biggest thing is that tanks, while most feel better to play than in Overwatch 1, there are clear gaps in viability in tanks. For example, Orisa has a gap closing ability, a stun, and a survive ability. Ryan only has a gap closing ability and a ranged attack. I think specifically tanks are going to be more well-rounded in terms of balance to make the game feel like you can play whatever you want within reason and perform. DPS feels, I think, the strongest that has ever felt due to the fact that barriers are gone for the most part. Yeah. Especially Soldier feels amazing. Any kind of like ranged hit scan, any like Soldier. Like the thing with Soldier is he hated barriers and barriers were everywhere. So I think Soldier's been powerful in Overwatch for a long time. But because barriers were everywhere, he couldn't do anything. But now they're not. He can do a lot, and it makes him really strong. DPS, I feel, is the strongest that they've felt due to the fact that barriers are gone. They have more impact, and you're rewarded for skillful gameplay. However, the weakest part has to be support. I think they are going to need some sort of survivability rework on a few of them to make different healer comps more viable. Overall, this game, I think, plays more fluid and more fun than Overwatch 1 as of right now. Yeah, fine. I am hyped so much just based on what I've seen alone. There's still the whole PvE thing. I'm definitely dragging my friends with me into this game. I will renew their interest in this guy's out there. It's like, I will make you play Overwatch. Get over here and play Overwatch. Love it. Okay, I like the changes very much. Not many flashes anymore. Okay, so no stuns, he means, I guess. Not many shields. Orisa Bastion rework. I am not sure what I should think about Doomfist as a tank. Soldier Visor OP because less shields. Nano Visor completely OP, yeah. Moira, in my opinion, is way too strong. Yeah, well, it's fine. It's fine. Good comment, fine. Oh, a negative one. Honestly, it's awful. What they did to Mei since she lost what made her was watered down, and supports also feel underwhelming. You know what? I still believe Mei is quite good, and people will start realizing that. You've got to remember, Mei's alternate fire now, I think it's got effective DPS of 100. That's mega. Like, that is a lot of damage you can put out, really, as Mei at range. The wall is great for still just, sectioning off. I mean, if tanks want to go at you, you can wall them into your team, and then you can primary fire them, which is going to slow them down, and they're not going to really be able to get away that quick, and your team can pour damage into them. I think Mei is a massive sleeper pick. I think she's very strong. Okay, let's move on. With my playtime on the beta, I feel that a fourth option is needed. It's a bit different, and I don't know if it's better. Okay, so a fourth option on the poll. My first thought was it looks like the same game. The graphics difference is negligible, and all the elements are identical to Overwatch 1, just a bit more polished. I feel like this should have been a normal update to Overwatch 1 and not a separate game. I agree. I absolutely agree. But I think it is. This is the thing, right? I legitimately think it is, but they, for some reason, have had to call it Overwatch 2. Yes, it plays different. Playing tank can either be great or horrible. There is no in-between. If your DPS don't do the work, there's nothing you can do to tilt the tide short of hard carrying, which is very difficult. Playing healer is also very different. You're exposed and vulnerable. This is why my go-tos are Moira, Mercy, and Brig. This should have been a simple expansion. Seriously. I think it is. I just think it is. Like, you know what as well? No one knows what's going on with the game in the future. I've seen a lot of people talking about, this is a joke, like we have to pay $60 for this. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if this will be free to play, if this is an expansion pack you buy. Is PvE a box price, or do you just buy the missions? Who knows? Like, no one knows. Like, Blizzard have got to step up with the communication and get it out there, because it's not great. It really isn't great at the moment. I'm a very unskilled player. Don't say that about yourself. Don't ever say that. And knowing that double shield comps can no longer happen makes my day. I'm sure there were ways to play around it, but I hate the fact that 90% of the time, all I ever shot at is a shield. No, I've spoken about this loads of times before, but the Shroud, there was Shroud and Dr. Disrespect played Overwatch 1 last year. It might have even been the year before. And they just were like, I can't do anything, I'm shooting barriers, and they leave the game. That is the type of player that plays FPS games, but then tries to play Overwatch, and he's like, this is crap, it's not an FPS game, I'm shooting at barriers, I don't want to play this no more. Dr. Disrespect played Overwatch during the beta key drop thing, although he now streams on YouTube. Maybe he was paid to do it, I don't know, but he seemed to enjoy it more than he did before. He was playing a lot of Cassidy, and he was getting a lot of kills, actually, because he's a good FPS player. So he seemed to enjoy it more, so maybe you can chalk it up as a win because of that, but don't ever say you're a bad player. No. It's tight, it's dynamic, and it feels different even in aspects that apparently haven't been changed, like the behavior of certain abilities. Yet, after having played for many hours, it feels just like playing Overwatch, as it ever has. I dread going back to Overwatch 1 after this beta. And I agree, right? And do you know why? Do you know why I dread? I will not go back and play Overwatch 1. This is the other thing Blizzard have done. Anybody who's got access to Overwatch 2, why the hell would you go back and play Overwatch 1? What incentive have you got to play Overwatch 1? You know, okay, when the beta gets taken offline, we've got no option if you want to play Overwatch. But you're going back into a world where DPS all moves slower. Tanks are not individually supercharged anymore. It's now 6v6. You're playing game modes that are deleted like Assault, not even in Overwatch 2. It's very weird. But I agree. I will find it literally impossible to go back and play Overwatch 1. The game brings more fun for me and my friends for a few reasons. Less stuns, faster pace of games, more challenge for all roles in the overall fight. I play mostly tanks and support and feel like my roster of characters finally paid off because I had to constantly switch to counter what the enemy is doing. That's fine. As far as tank goes, it's fun until the enemy switches to Orisa. Then it's a game of cooldowns. Also, Doom's block should block sleep dots as well. Since does it block? I think it does block sleep dots, doesn't it? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if it does. No, it doesn't. Does it? I think it does. Not in the back. I don't know. Don't actually quote me on that. I'm not sure. If it's not that, the general impact of Doom should be increased, since it's very rare to get a full charge and deal maximum damage. It just feels like a tanky DPS with half a kit. I don't think I agree with this comment. I think Doomfist is really good, like actually really, really good. But you have to play him slightly different. You have to play Doomfist. It's like repetitive. Like you go in, you do the Doomfist stuff, and then you get out, and then you do it again, and you get out, and you do it again, and you get out. And what you're trying to do is, yeah, you might isolate someone and kill them, but you're trying to disrupt the enemy team and almost throw them back into your team, so they're all out of position and they get killed. While Doomfist has got really high mobility, so he can move around, and hopefully he shouldn't get killed that often because Power Block is a powerful ability, and also charges his fist up so he can then fist again. And it's like there's a lot to Doom going on, and I think Doom, as players get used to this new Doomfist, which I do agree is like a hybrid between his DPS playstyle and more sort of like dive tanky playstyle. I think he's very strong. Honestly, I think he's mega strong, Doomfist. I don't think I've seen any Doomfist one tricks be sad with the way Doomfist has changed. I think they realise that they've been given a ton more mobility and massive survivability. Obviously at the cost of doing damage, like, but you know, there's different ways of doing damage, isn't there? Like disrupting the enemy team is it's not damage, but it can enable other, maybe your DPS to get more damage in and stuff. So yeah, I think Doom is really strong. Yes, definitely, it feels better in my opinion. Overwatch 1 has felt like I sit behind a barrier simulator, and I think Overwatch 2 offers so much more than that. So many new opportunities to engage in a fight. Also, I think in Overwatch 1, it has always felt that the chance of winning heavily dependent on your team's skill. In Overwatch 2, however, you as an individual player feel way more impactful and far less frustrating. I voted yes. That being said, there wasn't enough changes, and there's a lot of work to be done before it reaches anything close to Overwatch 1 form and glory, especially with support. That being said, I think they're headed in the right direction. Yeah. See, this again is the messaging problem. Imagine if they came out and said, we're sorry, we haven't updated the game for a long time. The reasons for that are this. And they said, you know, Bobby Kotick and problems at Blizzard and all of this, right? But we understand we've let you down. What we're going to do now is recommit to updating Overwatch. This is Overwatch relaunched, and then that's what we get. It's Overwatch 2.0. It's a relaunch of the game. And to do that, we're going to give you 5v5, radical hero reworks, new game mode. Then I think players will be like, okay, Overwatch is coming back. Yes, let's go. Instead, they've gone, it's Overwatch 2. And just simply by calling the game 2, the implications of that are massive amounts of content, huge graphical updates, not just the updates that we've got, which are way better, don't get me wrong, but they're not massively updated, right? It isn't like going from Half-Life 1 to Half-Life 2, right? That was, holy shit, the graphics were amazing in Half-Life 2 at the time, obviously. Even in Half-Life 1, they were amazing, but you get what I'm saying, right? Again, it's that messaging problem. Overwatch 2 is PvE. If next year PvE comes out and they're like, Overwatch 2, bang, I think everyone would be fine. So it's weird. Really, really weird. It's different while still being Overwatch. I've had many games where I get pushed right back to spawn the whole time and vice versa. I feel like the matchmaking will be better on release, along with the game being taken more seriously outside of the beta. Well, I think we need competitive as well. Quick play is fine, but obviously you only get one attack or one defense phase. It'd be nice if they just put a competitive rule set in the game. We don't need the whole competitive system, because I think what Blizzard are probably doing is thinking we don't want to put competitive into Overwatch 2 beta at the moment, again, because it's called Overwatch 2, because people will just go, well, this is the same as Overwatch 1. You haven't even changed it. What are you doing, Blizzard? But I think just giving us a competitive rule set that we've got on live, I think would work. You don't have to give us the ranking system. Just leave it as, quick play in essence, but let us attack and defend it. It'll give us a better idea of the flow of the game. If you do make this video soon, it will be interesting if you also make one later down the line. I think there's going to be multiple betas. Yeah, we could do this actually for every beta. That's a good idea, just to see how things change. I like the changes. Shame I can't play tank with my friend who also plays tank, but it's not the end of the world. I like less crowd control. Healers definitely need a bit more love, even though they already heal passively now. Yeah. Less CC. Heroes that needed reworks, receive them. 2CP is gone. Finally getting content. Like, honestly, it's just an improvement. Yeah, it is. Only possible downside I can think of is that it's harder to play in large groups of friends, but we could always just make a custom lobby instead, so it's not even that huge of an issue. I agree. I absolutely agree with that. It's a good comment. I overall like the design philosophy. So I think the comments we've been getting so far are reflecting the results in the poll. What was it? Like 70% of people, or 60, 69, whatever it was, the majority of players that voted in the poll like the changes. And that's good. Blizzard have done a good thing here. But again, we just keep going back to that thing of they've marketed it as like Overwatch 2 and it's new. And I think people that are not all hardcore Overwatch players right now are very confused. I spent some time watching videos from, just general gaming YouTubers that don't actually play Overwatch to see what their reaction is. And it is overwhelmingly, it's the same game. It's like, it's not. But I get why you would say that. And anyway, I love the overall design philosophy. It does feel like all roles are extremely impactful. Can't wait to see what the new heroes, modes, and maps look like. The way the devs were able to remove the oppressive CC and stay true to characters' design is absolutely impressive. The skill ceiling for all characters seems astronomical. Support is getting some bad rap. I think the idea of sitting in the back line and pumping heals into random people feels defeating. I feel much more empowered to frag out on support. If you can dodge in position to prompt your passive self-heal, I think you can have an advantage against DPS. I completely agree on this. DPS has to focus on quick time to kill. The longer they are in battle, the more likely a support can take the duel. That's a very interesting take. I'm excited for Overwatch 2 because, wow, does it feel good. For people who don't think it's enough, it's a beta that they're showing the best hand they can have and getting feedback. More characters and changes will come with launch. I've been playing for 5 years and sticking it out with content creators. Well, thank you for that, because it has been a rough couple of years. My wild pitch for a balance change is they should make Hog a DPS and reduce his character size by 60% and give him 300 health and turn him into a Hoglet. Hoglet! Hoglet! And then people can stop putting him in the tank D tier. Yeah. And Hog can run around and wreak havoc as the flanker he was born to be. Okay, I like that. It was a good comment. I'd like to say, as support, my impact was underwhelming. I'm also a console player trying to get good on PC at the same time. Last night, we were being spawn camped by a Widow, and as a healer, I didn't feel like I could do much. I tried to counter using Anna, hoping to shoot at her in between heals. The match didn't end well. The team wasn't... okay, you should not be trying to duel a Widow if you're Anna. You will get your head blown off. That's not a good thing to do. But I've got to say as well, the matchmaking is a bit weird. Now, there is hidden MMR in this, 100%. If you watch any streamers play, you will see that they will end up in the same games a lot. And a lot of them have been saying, hey, I remember these people from ladder. So I think there's MMR. But because there's just players coming in that might not have played for a long time, and also quick play, the range of matchmaking based on the MMR is much larger, right? So it picks from a bigger pool of players. There might be games where you get an exceptional player. Like if they were competitive, you might get like a Masters DPS, and the rest of the lobby might be gold, let's say. And in that way, it can feel really oppressive. But we'll only really truly know when competitive's put in the game and then players are all playing like at their own level. But yeah, don't ever try and duel Widow as Anna. That's asking for trouble. I don't understand. It's the same game point when used in a way to discuss the game. Every new release of COD, Battlefield, GTA, Pokemon, etc. is objectively the same game, just usually with improvements and a couple of new changed things. I don't understand how Overwatch 2 being an improvement to the original Overwatch while being similar is so bad. I don't know if it's just my opinion. I could be looking at this wrong. No, that's fine. I think, though, like, the COD example is COD releases every year. I don't think it's releasing next year, is it? But I think is it Modern Warfare 2 coming out? So a remaster this year, and I think Warzone 2 at some point is coming out. But when they come out, they have a lot of content relative to what. So basically, Call of Duty would release. Ignore Warzone, just go to Call of Duty. So Call of Duty releases in like November. It'll have some, I don't know, Battle Pass updates, maybe like some new map updates or something. But then a year later, it will release again, a completely new game in a different era, different. Loads of different weapons, different, loads of different stuff relative to what was in the last game. The thing with this Overwatch update is it is just, it's almost like a foundational update to the game. We're still in the same maps. Now, I've got to be honest, the map issue in FPS games is really stupid to me. And the map issue of like, Overwatch needs tons of maps all the time. Maps are the lowest impact thing possible from a player's perspective, right? Literally, players don't give a shit when a new map's added to the game. They want new heroes, they want new reworks, they want stuff like that. You only really need a number of good maps. Look at Counter-Strike, right? Look at how many maps that game has. And look at the maps that are played. Look at the best maps, right? Look at Overwatch, King's Row. Everyone loves a bit of King's Row, yeah? I don't think anyone would really care if you were playing King's Row for the majority of your time. Okay, maybe people might get bored if they're playing it all the time. But I don't think you need tons and tons of maps. So, like, having loads of new maps maybe shouldn't be a priority. But yeah, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent now. I just think, like, I think this is a good comment because, yeah, like all these other franchises, it's essentially another addition in that franchise, and it still is the same base game. You Call of Duty, you're still shooting man with a gun, yeah. But I think it's just a little bit different when it comes to Overwatch. But it is a very good comment. I like that. It's a good comment. I think it's balanced perfectly. Tanks are actual tanks now. I can melt them in 2 seconds as DPS. Also, healing isn't super powerful anymore, so I want to play support. I can do some more DPS because healing isn't everything anymore, lol. I spent about 6 hours across all 3 roles, and they all felt great to play. Orisa is the only overbuffed character, but she can be easily balanced. I do like the changes to the game. It feels faster with less CC, and doing damage feels more impactful. That being said, I'm a support player, and I'm not really having that much fun. Limited options as far as movement and CC make the role feel helpless. It also doesn't help that charging ult takes way longer, which makes it feel like I have no impact. Considering the fact that the game hasn't had an update in years, these changes are depressing. A lot of characters weren't changed at all. Some characters like Cassidy and Zarya were barely changed. The supports need an actual rework. I hope the buffing of their passive was just a hotfix for the alpha. I can't believe Blizzard claimed supports were actually the strongest. Did they? I don't know. The supports are not the strongest. I don't think they've ever claimed that. I think it's quite clear who the strongest role is in Overwatch 2, and it's DPS. Tank is strong, but DPS can kill everybody. Although maybe you could give it to Tank. I don't know. But support, very good at enabling the team, yeah, but I don't think they're the strongest. I don't know. I don't think that's ever been claimed. Anyway, so I voted no. Oh, here we go. Excellent. I honestly think that most of the changes were great. However, I dislike 5v5. Support feels very helpless unless you play Moira or Lucio. Otherwise, you're too easy to kill. Having all flank routes and no stuns makes this game feel really like just your everyday FPS now. I liked Overwatch because it was different from every other FPS. Now it's not. No, I don't agree with that. It still is different. Like, there is no other game like Overwatch. That's okay. Team Fortress 2. Let's get that out there. But like, there is no other game that gives you what Overwatch gives you. and that's a testament to its original design and its continued design. It is still very unique as to what it offers you. I think I will always have fun playing Overwatch. Whether Overwatch remains a game tons of people play, I don't know. But like, I think I'll always have fun with it. And I can't see this being something I ever like stop playing it. It won't be like, oh, I just don't play Overwatch no more. It's always something you can come back to and always have a good time. And I've always felt, even with Overwatch 1, when I've taken breaks from the game, when I've come back and started playing it again, it does feel fun. You know, okay, then the same old issues start rearing their ugly head. But like, it does always feel fun coming back to it. So I think it still is very unique in what it offers in the FPS space. And they're obviously moving more towards FPS than they were the older design philosophy, which was more kind of like MOBA slanted rather than FPS. Overwatch 2 is definitely FPS, right? Less barriers just straight up means FPS, right? You shoot people, they die, you win. Yeah. Impressed because it seems that everybody feels more important on the team at any given moment. The skill gap between characters, it does make it. My voice is getting destroyed now. I'm probably going to have to end. How long is this video at the moment? Good God, we're going for a bit. The skill gap between characters does make it hard, but very possible to solo carry teams more adequately from most positions. Healers seem to be at the largest disadvantage. If your healer isn't as mobile as others, still think this should be called Overwatch 1.2 because it's not a new game yet. Yeah. I feel like this beta is mostly to test tank changes. Some of them are really cool, but I feel the pace is just slightly too frenetic. I love that word. Supports feel like they are made of tissue paper and usually don't wind up surviving long enough for the passive regen to kick in most of the time. Well, it only takes a second. So, like, if you can't survive a second without taking damage, then there's not that tissue paper. What the hell? So it feels kind of moot. Other heroes need tuning to compete with others, and I hope it will feel like a much better and more team-oriented experience with more flexibility and characters. Cool. The only issue I'm seeing is it's obvious that some characters were made for 6v6 and have a hard time holding their ground in 5v5. Also, supports just look like heal bots now. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite. You know what? Let's read this comment, then we'll go back to the top and we'll do it by newest, and we'll see what the latest comments are. I like the changes. Some characters still need a little more tweaking, but after a few patches and more testing, it'll be good. I like the feel and style of the game. It feels fresh, and I think we're all looking for that. Yeah, so I want to thank everyone for commenting on this because, I mean, we've got hundreds of comments, and they're very detailed comments. Like, awesome stuff, guys. I mean, I think there's like, what was it, nearly 700 comments? Yeah, 646 comments. I mean, that's pretty mental. There's more now, 653. That's like mental. So thank you for that, guys. Like, you guys are awesome. Like, I love it when you get involved in these. I love making these videos as well. They're just so cool. Okay, let's see what these guys say. Why does everyone call it Overwatch 2 when it's more like Overwatch 1.5? I've seen the updates, and I've seen updates in DLC with more changes. I will say the jury is still out, but I already miss the synergy that many combinations offer. The idea that one player or hero can carry a team is dangerous to the experience. I like that it's different and new, but that doesn't equate to better. Well, I'd like to know why you think it's dangerous to the experience. Because surely, like, if everybody has got a chance to pop off and make a huge play, and then you win as a result, that's good, right? That feels good to the player. Surely it does. My answer is conflicted. Overwatch 1 was fine. Really, it just needed love and content. I feel like Activision saw it's new. This is going to beat LoL game. And I don't think it's about beating LoL. I think it's about Call of Duty. It's about we want another Call of Duty. I think that's what it was. And remember, we know that Tracy Kennedy, one of the producers that left Overwatch, said that Bobby Kotick was making them produce and make stuff that was just scrapped. So how many years and how much dev time was wasted on things that never actually happened? You know, who knows? Anyway, Overwatch 2 isn't bad, but it'll need to really ratchet up the effort. Not sure I'd buy Overwatch 2 when it's released, and definitely wouldn't buy into a subscription model when other games have hit their stride and have the company's full efforts behind them. The trust just isn't there. Now, no one knows if it's a subscription model or anything. Like, again, we don't know what Overwatch 2 is going to be like. Hopefully, we find out at some point, because, I mean, it's annoying not to know. Okay, this will be the last comment because this video is chunky. I knew it would be a chunky video, but my voice is destroyed. People may say it's the same game, but I can definitely feel the differences with only one tank and much less CC abilities. Support characters need some tweaking as they're quite exposed now, since DPS can get up close without worrying about Cassidy Flash or Brig Bash. Genji and Tracer can wreck the back line. Yeah, they can. As a DPS player, I feel like it's easier / more options to make players and have an impact instead of whose tank dies first, and now the tanks actually feel like tanks, so there's less point to spam the tanks now. Then obviously the quality of life changes like ping and scoreboard graphics are nice. Yeah, that's actually quite a good comment to end this on, because that comment is like, well, I think that's quite representative of what we would think as like the hardcore Overwatch fan base, the hardcore Overwatch players. Like what we're playing in Overwatch 2 is better than what we've played in Overwatch 1. There's a lot of things that we wanted, scoreboards, ping systems, you know, all of that. Great reworks to heroes. Tanks feel awesome to play now. Supports, yeah, they've got a different play style. DPS feels amazing. The new maps all feel great to play. The new game mode feels great to play. It's just good. It's a good, chunky update to Overwatch. But yeah, I think it's just a messaging thing. And I think Blizzard really need to sort out their communication with the fan base and to sort of, and just with the wider gaming community, because they've made a big splash about Overwatch 2, but it's still really confusing. Is this just Overwatch? Is this Overwatch 2? And yeah. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of you guys that took part in this video. Thank you for your comments. I think it was a great idea by one of the comments where it said, let's just do this for every beta. I think we will. It'll be interesting to see how things change. It would be maybe interesting to do this on a per role basis and see what you guys think about tank and DPS and support and stuff like that. If you've got any ideas for new videos we could do in this kind of like format, then do leave them in the comments below. Obviously, I read the comments on all the videos. I love them. You guys leave awesome comments. We get like thousands of comments. It's so cool. Like over the week, it's just mental. Yeah, and I just can't wait for Overwatch 2 to properly come out so we can start doing Overanalyzed again. I love that show. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. As ever, it has been my pleasure to make this, and you can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa, and I will catch you lovely lot on the next video. Toodaloo.